For most of human history, nobody slept alone. Not by choice, not by culture, not by accident, by necessity. The idea that a person should have their own bed, their own room, their own uninterrupted 8 hours of darkness is one of the newest ideas in human history. It is younger than the printing press. It is younger than the microscope. In most parts of the world, it did not become a realistic possibility until the Industrial Revolution created enough cheap manufactured goods to make private bedrooms affordable for ordinary people. Before that, for hundreds of thousands of years, humans slept the way almost every other social mammal sleeps, together. And the more researchers study ancient and pre-industrial sleep, the more evidence accumulates that sleeping together was not just a practical necessity. It was a biological one, that the human body, over hundreds of thousands of years, calibrated itself to sleep in the presence of others, and that modern solitary sleep may be one of the most radical and least studied departures from our evolutionary baseline that the contemporary world has produced. Let us start at the beginning. The oldest confirmed sleeping sites in the human fossil record are approximately 200,000 years old. Archaeologist Lynn Wadley excavated a site in South Africa called Sibutu Cave, where she found layered grass bedding, the earliest known prepared sleeping surface, dating to around 77,000 years ago. The bedding was made from insect-repelling plants and was regularly burned and replaced, suggesting deliberate, repeated use. These were not individual beds. They were communal sleeping areas. The evidence suggests groups of people sleeping in close proximity, sharing warmth, sharing protection, and almost certainly sharing the rhythms of sleep and waking. In every hunter-gatherer society studied by anthropologists in the modern era, the Kung of the Kalahari, the Hadza of Tanzania, the Aceh of Paraguay, communal sleeping is the default. People sleep in groups. Children sleep with parents well into what Western cultures would consider school age. Adults sleep in close proximity to other adults. This is not a primitive arrangement that civilization has improved upon. This is the baseline. Why does it matter who you sleep next to? The answer involves the biology of sleep itself. Human sleep is not a single uniform state. It cycles through stages: light sleep, deep slow-wave sleep, and REM sleep, in roughly 90-minute cycles throughout the night. Each stage serves a different function. Slow-wave sleep is when the brain consolidates memories and the body repairs tissue. REM sleep is when emotional memories are processed and the brain performs what neuroscientist Matthew Walker describes as overnight therapy, stripping the emotional charge from distressing memories while preserving the factual content. These cycles are regulated by the circadian clock, the body's internal 24-hour timer, which is itself influenced by light, temperature, and social cues. Social cues. Research published in 2020 in the journal iScience found that people who sleep in the same bed as a partner spend more time in REM sleep, an average of 10% more, and show greater REM synchrony, meaning their REM cycles align more closely. They also reported feeling more socially connected, less anxious, and better rested than when sleeping alone. The body does something different when it sleeps near another body. Why would evolution produce a sleep system that is enhanced by the presence of others? Think about what sleep requires. Sleep requires vulnerability. To sleep, the brain must reduce its threat monitoring activity, lower its physical responsiveness, and accept a state of temporary unconsciousness. For a small mammal in the ancient world, this was extraordinarily dangerous. Predators do not announce themselves. A sleeping individual is an easy target. Sleeping in a group solves this problem. In a group, not everyone falls into deep sleep simultaneously. Light sleepers and heavy sleepers naturally stagger their cycles. Someone is always in a lighter phase, more responsive to environmental changes. The group as a whole maintains a higher collective awareness than any individual could sustain alone. This is called distributed vigilance. Anthropologist David Sampson at the University of Toronto has studied sleep across hunter-gatherer populations and found exactly this pattern. In the Hadza of Tanzania, he found that out of a group of 33 adults sleeping together, there were only 18 minutes across an entire night when all individuals were simultaneously in deep sleep. 18 minutes out of 8 hours. The group was almost never fully asleep at the same time. What did ancient sleep actually look like? This is where the research becomes genuinely surprising. Historian A. Roger Ekirch spent 16 years researching pre-industrial sleep patterns and published his findings in a landmark 2001 paper. He found overwhelming evidence in diaries, medical texts, court records, and literature from before the Industrial Revolution that humans did not historically sleep in a single consolidated block of 8 hours. They slept in two separate phases. The first sleep lasted from shortly after dark until roughly midnight. Then people woke, naturally, without alarm, for a period of 1 to 2 hours. They used this time to pray, have sex, check on children, talk to a sleeping partner, or simply lie awake in a state of calm wakefulness. Then they fell back to sleep for a second sleep until dawn. This two-phase pattern, called segmented sleep or biphasic sleep, appears so consistently across pre-industrial records from so many cultures that Ekirch concluded it was the natural human sleep pattern. The 8-hour consolidated sleep that modern medicine promotes as healthy may itself be an artifact of artificial light and industrial work schedules, not the biological baseline it is assumed to be. The disruption of traditional sleep patterns began with a single invention: artificial light. Before artificial light, darkness was total after sunset. The only options were sleep, fire, or candles, and candles were expensive. Most people went to sleep when darkness fell because there was functionally nothing else to do. Then gas lighting arrived in cities in the early 1800s. Then electric light at the end of the 19th century. Suddenly, the night was no longer a boundary. Work could continue. Social activity could continue. The pressure to sleep when darkness fell evaporated. And the first sleep, the early portion of the two-phase pattern, got pushed later and later until the waking period between first and second sleep was compressed out of existence entirely, and what remained was a single consolidated block that people were expected to complete in whatever hours remained before the workday began. Modern insomnia, the inability to sleep in a single consolidated block, particularly the pattern of waking in the middle of the night and being unable to return to sleep, may not be a disorder. It may be the ancient sleep pattern reasserting itself. The shift to solitary sleep happened in parallel with the shift to consolidated sleep. As cities grew and industrialization produced wages that could buy manufactured goods, the architecture of living changed. Houses that had previously been single rooms in which entire families slept together began to be divided. Private bedrooms became a mark of wealth, then a middle-class aspiration, then an expectation. The idea that sharing a bed was unhealthy emerged in the late 19th century alongside germ theory. Once people understood that disease could be transmitted between bodies, the shared bed became a medical risk. Pediatricians began warning against co-sleeping, parents sharing a bed with infants, on safety grounds that remain contested in the scientific literature to this day. In most of the non-Western world, co-sleeping with infants and children remains the default. In Japan, the practice is called kawa no ji, named for the Japanese character for river, because a parent sleeping on each side of a child resembles a river flowing between two banks. Japanese pediatricians have historically considered solitary infant sleep unusual, not co-sleeping. The Western medical consensus and the global human practice point in almost exactly opposite directions. What does this mean for how we sleep today? Researchers studying sleep in hunter-gatherer populations have found something that challenges almost everything modern sleep science assumes. The Hadza, the Kung, and the San peoples of southern Africa do not, on average, sleep 8 hours. They sleep between 6 and 7 hours per night. They do not suffer from the chronic sleep deprivation that researchers assumed would follow from such short sleep durations. They wake and sleep with the temperature cycle, falling asleep roughly 3 hours after sunset as temperatures drop, waking as temperatures begin to rise before dawn. They do not have insomnia. They do not have sleep anxiety. They do not lie awake worrying about whether they are getting enough sleep. They sleep badly on some nights and better on others, and they do not appear to catastrophize the bad nights. Some researchers now believe that the chronic sleep crisis affecting the modern world is not primarily caused by insufficient sleep time. It is caused by sleeping alone, sleeping under artificial light, sleeping on fixed industrial schedules, and spending the hours before sleep in a state of anxious expectation, conditions that no human body has ever previously encountered. Here is what the science of ancient sleep is telling us. The human body did not evolve to sleep alone. It evolved to sleep in the presence of familiar others, people whose breathing, movement, and body heat served as biological signals that the environment was safe enough to let the guard down, that the threat monitoring could reduce, that true rest was possible. Solitary sleep is not independence. It is an experiment that began roughly 200 years ago, that most of the world has not adopted, and that the body, still running on software written hundreds of thousands of years ago, has never been updated to handle. The most natural thing a human being can do at the end of the day is not to withdraw into a private room and close the door. It is to lie down near the people they trust most and let sleep come in the company of others. That is what your body has been waiting for all along.